Shalom Israel. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. Yahweh is who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And there's no God beside them. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Holy Spirit. And shalom to the elect, whom the Lord have given ears to hear. And just finished watching this video. The elder apostle Tahar did, going into how vocab is pretty much finished. He's frustrated, and we're seeing more and more that he doesn't understand the Bible. He plays semantics. He hops around the answer, and then when you go to answer his questions, he switches up on you. And I caught a lie this guy said, talking about he never mentioned white people. What was that point at? Now, I want to play this, but for some reason, I always get copyrights from playing videos that other brothers post up. Alright, so this debate was between, as you see on the screen, Captain Tazariak and Vocab. Pretty much on some points brought out in Captain Tazariak's video of Tommy G. Let's see. White people spend so much time because we say we hate them. They don't care that blacks kill blacks. They don't care that blacks sell drugs and blacks to blacks. They don't that families are destroyed, and we do so what we go and we do so what we go out and do is stop black on black crime, and we go out and do is bring black families together. That's what we do, and that just doesn't include you guys. So when the brother asked Tommy, what does it gain by saying we love each other, he didn't have an answer. And you don't have an answer. This is Tazariak speaking to Vocab. Tazariak is the guy on the left, Vocab is the guy on the right. So it says, either what do we gain by loving white people? What do we gain? I notice I never bring up white people because that's not the issue. The issue is your enemies. That's the documentary. Though said you want to talk about the documentary, and that was the documentary. It says, here what you got to make up your mind. You want to talk about the documentary topics. Let me answer your question. Here's what you would gain. Right, so now this is Vocab answering at the 27-minute mark. This is Vocab answering Tazariak. It says, here's what you would gain. You will be obeying Christ, which will be a good thing. Christ never said love white people. Here, alright, so here's the back and forth, people. What you would do, I never brought up white people. I just said your enemies, which Vocab is a liar. He did bring up white people. As a matter of fact, prior to when Captain Tazariak brought out Revelation 18 as a point of asking Vocab, excluding white people, is there a nation that will be judged for their iniquities? And Vocab immediately brought up white people. So he lied on that point. Right? But it says, what would you do? I never brought up white people. I just said your enemies. So here's what you, Christ never said love everybody. I'm going to answer. Okay, I'm going to answer your question. I'm going to point out an error you made. Here's the answer to your question. You will be obeying Christ, and you will be showing that you actually care about him as your master. But by disobeying him, you show that he's not your master. It says, now that you just brought up Leviticus, where it says, oh, love your neighbors, and you said it's only talking about fellow Israelites, that's a trick. Mind you, this vocab speaking of Tazariot. That's a trick you guys pull. It's like you haven't read the end of the chapter, verses 33 and 34 of Leviticus 19. Let me read it to you, because this doesn't allow you to redefine Matthew 5 by a misreading of Leviticus 19. Because here's what it says: when a stranger sojourns with you in your land, you should do him no wrong. Right? It says, hold on, I'm not done. You should treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you, and you should love him as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. It specifically mentions non-Israelites and says you have to also love them as you love yourselves. So don't get to de-neighbor people who actually are neighbors. That's actually what the wicked tried to do when Jesus. All right, so, and I'm just reading it verbatim. You understand this truth. There's no such thing as black people or white people. There's Israelites and Edomites. Right? It goes off the lineage of your forefather. The Lord's name is not Jesus, it's Yahweh. As a matter of fact, we say constantly that so-called white people, you have Israelites that look like so-called white people. So let's get that situated right there. Now he brings out Leviticus, this guy vocab, the devil, brings out Leviticus 19 and 33. And if a stranger sojourn with you in your land, ye shall not vex him. But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one among you, one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thy neighbor, as thyself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. All right. Now I want to bring that out, which I have here the My Sword app as well as the Blue Letter. Both are good as far as the Strong's Concordance goes. Right. So I'm going to get that precept, right, in the Strong's Concordance. So that verse 33, right, for stranger, because that was the point of him bringing that out, pretty much that you know, your neighbor can also represent a stranger. So pretty much in his argument, that means that you're supposed to love everybody, like so-called Christ said. Right? But that word stranger is gar, right? A temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited rights, or foreigners in Israel, though conceded rights. Right? So now, it says, but the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself. For ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh your power. So that word in verse 34 also brings us to gar, right? That word stranger. H616 gar, as we just read the definition. Okay? But you have to understand that we had Israelites that were not born in the land. As a matter of fact, you have was it Rebecca and Laban were known as Syrians, even though they're Israelites. Right? So that's who the stranger is talking about, an Israelite that's not born in the land. And to prove that you have different definition for strangers, I want to grab Deuteronomy 14 and 21. And this is something, you know, brothers can bring out whenever somebody tries to stumble you on that word stranger or that verse as far as, oh, okay, this is, no matter who you are, whether you're Israelite or a stranger, you should be treated alike. That's just simply not the case. Remember, according to Psalms 148 and 13, that the Lord gave his statutes and his judgments to Israel. Right? We'll grab that after this, Salakia. So this is Deuteronomy 14 and 21. Right? And this brings it home. Ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it. Or thou mayest sell it unto an alien. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in its mother's milk. Right? So, before we explain that, we can go to Leviticus. Bear with me, Salakia. Hold up. This is Deuteronomy 14 and 21. Ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it. Or thou mayest sell it unto an alien, for thou art an holy people unto Yahweh thy power. Thou shalt not see the kids in his mother's milk. Right? So in this instance, right, which they put gar there, but technically that should be nakar. So it says, because remember, as we read the scriptures, you read it in context, it has to be talking about another kind of stranger. Right? According to what we just read in Leviticus 19, you got to deal with an Israelite stranger as yourself. But the stranger that dwelleth within you shall be as one born among you. Thou shalt love him as thyself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Right? And then when we jump to Leviticus 22 and 8, it tells us what? That which dieth of itself or is torn with beasts, he shall not eat to defile himself therewith. I am Yahweh. Right? So as a law, there's a law for Israelites, and then there's a way that you treat heathens. Right? Which, as we just read, all right, they don't apply. The laws that were given to Israel don't apply to the other nations, as we just read. I'll read it again. Ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it. Or thou mayest sell it unto an alien, for thou art an holy people unto Yahweh thy power. Thou shalt not see the kid in his mother's milk. Now, when we go into that word, they put gar, right? But again, it wouldn't make sense according to the scriptures we just read. It says that in thy gates thou shalt give it, that he may eat it. Thou mayest sell it unto an alien. Now, an alien, that of another nation, would be a nakar. Right? So in Hebrew Israelite normally would be gar, and an other nation would be nakar. For it says, thou mayest sell unto an alien, for thou art an holy people unto Yahweh thy power. Thou shalt not see the kid in his mother's milk. Let me see something real quick. Right? So, yup, there you go. Quick hit. Right? This is Psalms chapter 148, verse 13. 147, verse 19. Psalms 147, verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation. Right? And if he shows his word to you, that means he shows his mercy to you. All right? But he have not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. Right? So here it is. The Lord deals with the nation of Israel one way and the other nations another way. Right? Let's grab this real quick. Wisdom of Solomon 12 and 22. Therefore, whereas thou dost chasten us, thou scourgest our enemies 1,000 times more, to the intent that when we judge, we should carefully think of thy goodness, and when we ourselves are judged, we should look for mercy. All right, so again, case in point, the Lord establishes a way for Israel to be treated, and then a way for the enemies, the heathen, to be treated. And they going into slavery. All right. The scriptures say, this honor have all ye the saints. Let me see. Psalms 149. You can talk bad about it all you want. It's in the scriptures. Right? It says, Psalms 149 verse 4. For the Lord taketh pleasure in his people. He will beautify the meek with salvation. Precept that was Psalms 76. Psalm 78:52. There we go. '51. And smote all the firstborn in Egypt, the chief of their strength in the tabernacles of Ham, but made his own people to go forth like sheep, and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. Right? So the Lord just, well, in this instance, this is the Lord, or in this chapter, this is the Lord, or it's being spoken of the Lord's works, what he did for Israel and what he did for the nations. Two different things. Right? But let vocab tell it, we all the same. For the Lord taketh pleasure in his people, he will beautify the meek with salvation. Let the saints be joyful in glory, let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God, Jesus, Jesus, baby. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praised ye Yahweh. All right. And according to the honor of the saints, I got to go after this one. Revelation chapter 13, verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the swords. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints, the Israelites. Psalms 148 and 13. With that, shalom to the elect.